Hello and welcome to the Stringer Podcast number 31. It's been a long-ass fucking day. There we go, Dill. I'm getting the explicit tag out of the way right in the opening seconds. As we prepare for the holidays, we recorded a trio of podcasts today, which means my ability to speak has gone out the window. Mike Veerman on the podcast. I don't want to call it a return, because last time it was a crossover with the Mike on Much guys. Let's just call it a re-invitation. Mike Veerman, obviously from the great podcast Mike on Much, that it's going to be a CraveTV show, and it's dropping in just a few days. Midnight, Friday, December 21st. So that's like Thursday night / Friday morning at Mike on Much on Twitter and at Mike on Much on Instagram. Did I get that all right, Dylan?
I think that's correct.
Thumbs up?
Sure.
As I promised you that I was going to come to you every week for advice, and I wasn't sure what I was going to ask you about until you brought these incredible, delicious cookies into the office today. Was one of them's definitely chocolate-filled chocolate. Rolo-filled chocolate.
Cookies, yes.
And is the other one like an apple cinnamon?
It's like a snickerdoodle kind of cinnamon.
Please describe snickerdoodle to me.
I have no idea. It has cinnamon.
Synonym?
Synonym.
Synonym?
Something.
Splinonym?
There's a lot of sugar. There's a lot of butter. There's a lot of flour. It's a cookie.
You obviously made beautiful desserts, but going into the holiday week, or the week before the holidays, what should people be cooking or preparing? You got, if you haven't had your Christmas party yet, you have those coming up. You probably have to visit family pretty soon, and they're like, bring something other than cranberry sauce in a can. What would you suggest people make that you've made before, and it's like a staple in the Wilson household?
Oh, a staple in the Wilson household. One of my favorite dishes is a spaghetti dish called Hell's Kitchen.
A spaghetti dish on Christmas.
Yes, and I've had it before on Christmas. Last Christmas, actually. It's just a very good, hearty spaghetti dish. Cream sauce, use vodka in the recipe, which is always fantastic. Spicy chicken in the recipe, in the spaghetti.
Dylan Ella vodka.
It's delicious, and you serve up some garlic bread with it.
Do you have you made it?
Oh yeah.
So you have a recipe for this?
I do.
Could you snap a picture of it and we can post it on the Instagram or on Twitter?
I think I could do that.
Chef, I almost said Cook Dylan. Don't cook Dylan. Chef Dylan over here.
Chef Dylan, I can follow a recipe.
A little bit of Hell's Kitchen for you for the holidays. Between now and Christmas, though, we have one more weekend, and I wanted to kick this off. Do you see what I did there on Friday, Dill? I think we should do it completely. We don't have an event for you Friday.
Just
everyone stay in. Order CraveTV if you don't have it already. If you happen to have the HBO or the TMN bundle in Canada, you just have it automatically. And you can watch Mike on Much in conversation with. Might as well promote a good buddy of the show, right?
I mean,
today's guest.
He's on the episode.
Only makes sense. Delivering insightful interviews, hilarious personal stories, and pointed opinions. It is pointed. I want to say poignant. And poignant opinions on everything from entertainment to music to pop culture. Crave's new original series, Much Studios presents Mike on Much in Conversation With, is hosted by seasoned writer, director, and producer Mike Veerman, Max Kerman, lead singer of the 4-time Juno award-winning rock band Arkells, and Juno-nominated director and pop culture aficionado Shane Cunningham. Or if you listened the last time he was on the show, Shane Shaningham. Each episode of Much Studios Presents Mike on Much features long-form interviews, candid conversations, and sometimes cringe-worthy comedic segments. You can imagine that's neither Max nor Mike's inclusion, but probably Shane's. And if you heard their podcast before, it's fucking hilarious. And I think it's going to go over really, really well. And it's an excellent addition to CraveTV's lineup of original programming. So Friday, December 21st, it drops. Head on over to crave.ca. It's $9.99 per month, or you can bundle it in if you want HBO or TMN.
I'm pretty sure you get a free month if you sign up.
And a free month, that's right, if you sign up. So just order it for December, right? And then if you don't want it in January, you can give it back. No hard feelings. Saturday, December 22nd, we got the Headstones at the Danforth Music Hall at 7 p.m. Dill, Do you know any Headstone songs?
I have no idea.
You're lying. I was singing it like 5 minutes ago.
I think we discussed this. The song you were singing came out when I was 5. So
Smile and Wave, being an Edge 102 kid, it was on repeat. Good old Kingston band, Canadian boys, playing at the Danforth Music Hall, one of the best venues, in my opinion, between Danforth and Massey Hall, two of my favorite venues in Toronto. If you want to check out the Headstones on Saturday night, just log into seatgiant.com, search Headstones or Danforth Music Hall, go down, click Get Tickets. It's nice, it's easy, it's like 3 clicks away, and if you use promo code STRINGER, you can save yourself a couple dollars off your purchase. And if you're not into the Headstones, I don't understand you. We're not going to be friends, because Seat Giant has a whole whack of different options for you throughout the holidays, whether it be concerts, sporting events, theater, or other live shows like live comedy, if you're into that kind of thing. And all you have to do is use promo code STRINGER for a couple bucks off your purchase. Finally, Sunday, December 23rd, Home Alone at 9:30 p.m. Dylan, you know what makes this great? We were talking about Home Alone earlier. You've watched it.
Yes.
Obviously, another quintessential Christmas movie. This is a quote along, which means karaoke style.
So you get to talk more. Is that
It's the fact that I can now say the lines before they happen and people can't shit on my face. Like, they have to just accept it.
shit on your face?
Hey, it happens sometimes. Calling all ladies, gentlemen, and little jerks. It's time to don your ugly Christmas sweater for their 5th annual Home Alone quote-along. In true holiday tradition, they're showing, I should have rewritten this before I decided to share it with you. In true holiday tradition, they're showing it with subtitles karaoke style, so you can get rowdy and shout out all your favorite lines, like, Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof. You can scream with Kevin and enjoy some lovely cheese pizza. Keep the change, you filthy animals. That's not fair, because isn't that from Home Alone 2 when he's in New York?
No, that's a Home Alone 1.
Oh, is it Home Alone 1?
You got to study up if you're going to quote along to this thing.
Oh, they got it. It's karaoke style. I don't have to. It's amazing. They're going to run all the quotes at the bottom of the screen so I can just yell them out 5 seconds before they happen. Again, that's at the Hot Dogs Ted Rogers Cinema, 9:30 p.m. Tickets start at $13, or if you want to pair your movie with a little bit of alcoholic beverages, they have combos starting at $18. That's only a $5 beer.
Wow. I'm just going there to drink.
I'm not going to watch the movie. I know it already. Meet some new friends, wear an ugly Christmas sweater, try to get a prize. They didn't say there's prizing, but I'm going to try to get a prize.
Drinking on a Sunday. It's great.
Drinking on a Sunday. And we don't have to work on Monday because it's Christmas Eve. You're the one who reminded me of that. So you don't even have to wake up early afterwards. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 events for you to round off the Stringer Big Weekend. Is that going to be the second last of 2018? We're going to do one more
weekend,
right?
this year.
One more weekend.
One more.
And guys, if you hate my ideas, I completely get it. I can't make everybody happy. But find your own idea, explore the city on your own time, use your mind, and head on over to seatgiant.com and type in and just browse. You don't have to type in anything. Just browse. And if you don't live in Toronto, that's fine too, because they pride themselves on offering options to all big and small towns throughout North America, whether it's a concert, sporting event, theater, or live show of any kind. Seat Giant can hook you up, and just use promo code STRINGER, not promo code Twitter, like I've said in the past. Promo code STRINGER for a couple dollars off your next purchase. Okay, enough talking, Dill. We're going to head on over. We're going to get into the podcast. Mike Veerman from Mike on Much. He comes by. He tells us crazy stories about the birth of his daughter, the live on stage at JFL 42, the podcast turning into a TV show, and Shane Cunningham just being Shane Cunningham. But before we get that, we bring this song up in the show. Mike and his brother Greg used to be part of a band called San Sebastian. One of my favorite songs by them is the song called Baby.
There's no sax in Baby, right?
No. There's no. We're going to listen to Baby and then the sax.
You say you want me, I say I need you. We do this every time, but it's still not captured now. I can't do this without you on my own.
I was,
I saw that. I couldn't believe. I thought I was up early. Like, okay, I'm not good at mornings. Straight up, terrible at mornings. And it was like, I don't know, 7, and I'm awake. And getting ready to leave the house at 8. And I'm like, you're strolling down the street, like, looking all 10s. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, I was
He
like,
does it again.
I had to, I'm not a morning person either. I lean toward how you're describing it, where my brain doesn't really start working until 11.
Mm-hmm.
I found it hard to talk on that show today, just because it was like, I don't normally talk that early.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually still sleeping. It was good.
Completely.
Yeah.
Having a daughter, though, your sleeping schedule must be...
Yeah, it's a little
everywhere.
whack. I mean, she's been pretty good about sleeping these days, and like her mom does a good job of like sort of like running that ship, just because it's like because I'm working, so it's like when I'm getting up and all that stuff, like she's good about doing the midnight stuff. But I'll change some diapers and stuff. But really, it's like I can't feed the kid because we're breastfeeding. I've tried, nothing comes
You
out.
can try.
Yeah.
Just see what it's like.
Exactly, just to feel
good.
wanted.
Like, yeah, exactly.
Needed.
Love.
Sorry, yeah, exactly.
Just before, are you good, like, Danica's name and Winona's name?
Yeah.
Being used?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
just,
totally. I know.
You
Yeah.
want to give that to everyone.
I'm a pretty
but
public Insta, so yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, well, I see her all the time, but it's not like, this is my daughter's first name.
I know.
This is her full name. Like, you just don't want to do that.
Totally.
To people, which is
it's a
completely
consideration.
fair, right?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking.
It's, you get to choose your life.
I know.
Right?
I know.
And you're...
But because I'm one of those dads now that like probably
I'm one of those dads.
unbearably posting my kid on social media, I'm like, well, fuck. At this point, what am I gonna do?
So it's been a crazy run.
Yeah.
Like I guess, has it been 10 days now? 8 days you've been on a press tour?
Yeah. They did everything last week because everyone's on vacation for Christmas
This week.
So it's like I'm doing Your Morning and like some local stuff CB24, but last week was all like the national, like social and e-talk and all that stuff.
Is it weird because I'm guessing with a handful of your guests...
Clayton, are we rolling right now?
Mike Veerman on the podcast. I want to say welcome...
I didn't know if you were pulling that podcast thing where it's like, oh, we're actually just rolling right now.
It's like Dylan gets rolling pretty early.
Good.
Just so we're safe. And then I'll ask a question that I know is safe to ask, but it's not like a hard start. Like,
Sure.
I don't want to like... Welcome to the Stringer Podcast.
You're talking process right now.
Like, I've got a little...
All your listeners, you're showing them how to do the thing.
Everyone has their own
Of
process,
course.
I think. It's what makes you feel comfortable. And in a weird way, because we get to create these things, we get to mold it however we want.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exciting.
Totally.
I like doing it. If you remember last time, I don't want to say, so it's weird in my head. Again, process. I'm like, we called the last one a Mike on Much crossover because you were here with Shane.
Yeah.
This one is just going to be a straight up Mike Veerman.
Yeah.
Like you're all alone. So it's like welcome back, but you're not welcome back because it's your first time, Mike Veerman.
Getting the one-on-one treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. It's more fun to do these sort of things with Shane, my partner in crime in a lot of ways, or Max. It's funny, even like kind of preparing for this Crave show when we've been doing press and stuff like that. Some of it I've done sort of, if they can't do all three of us, they tend to just go me.
You are Mike.
I'm Mike, and it's easier.
And you're the one on Much.
It's true. I am the namesake. And I guess if you only have like a couple minutes on like a show or something like that, I guess it's just easier to talk to one person.
Right.
But I've found that like when we were doing newspapers or anything like that, magazines, interviews, it's so much more fun with the other two guys because you get to riff.
Interact,
exactly. And it's like, it's just more funny. And whereas,
I should have booked everyone.
Hey.
How are they doing?
They're busy guys.
Yeah?
I don't know if you would have got them.
I called Shane's booking agent.
Yes.
And he said that, they said he just moved houses.
Totally.
So he's not available. And, Max, crazy old Max.
I know. I can't even get Max on the phone.
Europe.
Exactly. But you and I were having drinks at the Raptors game a couple weeks ago.
Thank you for that. By the way, you saved me.
Oh.
I'll tell you, because I had plans to go with someone. And I was like, okay, amazing. I'll meet you there. He was already going to be in the building, and then he's like, yo, I'm on the draft deck, or whatever. He had people he was partying with, and was like, why don't you come to me? And I was like, no, I don't want to watch the game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to. And then I tried to text another friend. He's like, no, man, I'm busy. And I was like, well, I still want to go to the game. And lo and behold, I do the thing that all lonely people do, I think. I'm like, are you at the game too? Could this be you over there? And you just spread it out over all the people at the Raptors game. I like geotag just Scotiabank Arena. I'm like, who else is here? Someone's going to respond to me. Help me out here. No, you were like, let's meet up for a drink, and then you let me sit with you, and that was fun.
Yeah, it was great. It was me and my buddy Sean Dawson, who's a huge Philadelphia 76ers fan. So every year with my sort of partial seasons, my 10 games, I always bring him to the Philly game. And it was great that you joined us, man. We had a couple extra seats there. So.
Sean from, as you told me, I didn't
San
know
Sebastian.
From San Sebastian.
My old band days, yeah. He was our lead guitarist, and he always jokes. He's like, I don't know if you call that lead, but him and his brother were both like sort of like the lead, kind of like a Strokes type vibe.
It was like two sets of brothers.
You got it.
San Sebastian.
He was one of them.
He was one of the sets of...
He was one of the two sets of brothers.
Right. That would make sense. There was only 4 of you.
There was 5 of us in the group. So there was one non-brother. Our drummer, Teddy.
I didn't know that.
He has a brother, but that brother was not in our band.
Yeah, he wasn't invited.
Auditioned, but
Excluded.
didn't make the cut, yeah.
I'm
just kidding. His brother's a cop.
Baby?
Baby was one of our singles, yeah.
Is amazing. And so I told you, like, in passing, I'm like, oh yeah, I cut a video to one of your songs. And you're like, I don't receive any royalties. First of all,
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, that's
I
funny.
downloaded songs from iTunes, whatever's still left, 100% with Greg, your brother, in the room. I'm like, I'm happy to pay you for your music, but it was just between Greg and I. Like, I cut something while I was in Atlanta.
I love it.
To Baby, because I love I put it on like a few days ago here at the office because I absolutely love that tune, and it is exactly what I would listen to then and still listen to now.
Oh, thanks. That one was a fun one. Although we probably should have been better about naming songs, because it's hard to Google the song Baby and actually like find, there's like about 1,000 songs called that,
Baby,
including the one by Justin Bieber, which is going to get all of the Google hits. So
San Sebastian Baby. If you haven't, look up the music video because it's freaking hilarious.
Speaking of Shane Cunningham, him and Mark Myers, yeah, they co-directed it. Yeah, that was a fun one. That was kind of like it is a good one. Look it up. Those guys obviously went on to direct Knocking at the Door by R. Kells and some other ones. So those guys are Juno nominated now.
Oh,
they didn't win the Juno.
Heartbreak though at the Junos.
Tough loss
this year because was it you? Someone was like Instagram storying it all up until the nominations, and then you didn't see it again. And I'm like, oh, this didn't go well.
Yeah, the way it kind of works is like so Shane Cunningham and Mark Myers were nominated for that video. Mm-hmm. Kells were nominated for actual Junos. So they were all kind of going out there anyway to Vancouver. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to go, but then Max was like, you should come because we'll do a bunch of interviews for the podcast. I was like, great. But what happens is when I got there, but as like just kind of a tag along that's just trying to score interviews, I don't have any official invites to anything. And so that awards night was like this like super fancy dinner that they do, and you have to be invited, and people wear blazers, and it's like this really nice the night before the Junos. But I'm like the only like clown without a ticket. Last minute, mutual friend Adam Burchell, the nut, if you listen to the Michael Much podcast, is like, I'll get you at a table. He sticks me at like,
don't worry.
Yeah, he sticks me at like the Live Nation or Ticketmaster table or something like that. I'm like, I can make friends.
Guys, I'm in. Exactly. 100%.
They're like, who are you? I'm like, hi, I'm Mike.
I only have an audience of 9. This is actually easy.
This is the best.
Yeah.
So, but I'm at the back. There's like 1,000 people there. And so I'm kind of filming Kel's table. I'm filming Shane and Mark's table, and we're getting closer and closer to the award. And I was trying to build suspense for our people that have been following our podcast and watching on our Instagram. And then when it got to the point where Grimes beat them, actually. Oh. Yeah, the heartbreaker. So, and then I think the filming stopped and we all just got drunk.
You're like, now it's time to party and forget our woes.
Just drown our sorrows. But that was a great video.
It's been so much fun over the last year. I told you, and I was so sincere when you came on last time, that I sincerely enjoyed the podcast, and I look up to you guys as, in a way, being our Toronto Trailblazers, right? Because you have that real pop culture connection that I think a lot of people search for and try to seek out, out of next level interviews. Like we have our 5-minute junket interviews.
Yeah.
But then you look for a little more depth and a little more storytelling. And in the podcast world, I feel it at least appears to me that you were one of our first. And that becomes really exciting.
Yeah, we were lucky. Honestly, like any of these types of things, because lots of people have podcasts, and you're doing a great podcast, and so many people, but it's about like access.
Stop.
It's true though.
Keep going.
Go on. It's about access to guests, and honestly, that's like, if I can say anything, like not only getting the opportunity to sort of like grow and build this podcast through Much and Bell Media, it's like they're kind of the king of the castle. They get you the access,
Right.
And after you sort of prove yourself with a couple, then people are willing to sort of like sit down with you, and I can get to those longer form interviews and those those stories that you talk about. And yeah, if that's what people are like getting out of it, like that's what we always wanted to do. And we've been lucky that we were given the opportunity to do it. And then hopefully we handled it well, because with access, you know.
The last year has been outstanding. So if I were to kind of catalog, you did your first live show a little over a year ago.
That's right, just around January. So just under a year ago, actually.
At the Riv.
At the Riv, sold out.
Then secretly you started filming the show, I guess over the summer.
Yeah.
And then you had JFL 42.
That one was in September. We did a live show at JFL 42, yeah.
So you had that.
Yeah.
You both decided you wanted to have kids at the same time. Amazing. But also, the fuck were you thinking? Like, someone didn't write this in a calendar.
No, it was insanity. Like, when you're... Okay, so, like, the Crave show, like, actually, like, when Crave... When they came to us and they were like, hey, we want to make the podcast into a TV show. We're thinking this, like, 8 episodes for, like, you know, streaming service. We're like, that's amazing. Like, let's start developing it. Let's talk about how we're going to do this. We didn't really, like... That was loose, you know? That was probably, like... I don't know, spring or something. Like I remember around like the finals maybe, or the NBA playoffs. That's how I mark all times NBA calendar.
Regular season before,
exactly.
After All-Star.
Yeah, it was like
in playoffs, in finals.
It was like,
was I wearing shorts?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Although I never really wear shorts. So you know how people can't wait until the weather turns and then they're coming to the office in shorts, but it's like, dude, it's like March. Anyway, so
and also it's an office.
And also it's an office.
Who do you think you are, LeBron James?
Creative work, bro. Wear the Crocs. So we when we decided to do the show or start developing it, we didn't know, we're going to shoot it in October, and that would be within the 2 weeks that my baby was due. Shane has a 6-month-old. Max, his album, Arkel's album, Rally Cry, come out, and he was doing press for that, and he was leaving for tour. Basically, there was this short window where all three of us could shoot it, but it also happened to coincide with like the most sort of like insane and busy times in our lives. While still pumping out audio podcasts and running around doing these long-form interviews with the guests that we've had, which are amazing, and then Shane doing his insane digital desserts, which are irreverent and uncomfortable and hilarious. And you know what? I showed you a preview.
You did.
Yes.
And I was going to get to it that the show...
You've seen stuff. I forgot. I was showing you some of this stuff in the game.
I feel so lucky because this is literally in the spot I'm in right now. If I could do this every week for the rest of my life, I'd be a happy man. Where I've seen something no one else has seen. I've laughed over it with someone else no one else knows. And then we get to sit here and talk about it a couple days before it's released.
Yeah.
Like, this is my life goal right here. And you're bringing it to me. So I appreciate that. Shane is friggin' hilarious.
You saw the one with Chris Redd from Saturday Night Live, yeah.
And Shane's commitment to it, and that's everything.
100%.
Is that as soon as someone starts asking the question, I believe there's a certain human piece of you that says, oh no, I just want to let them know that this is a bit, or I'm just joking. And then he just, boom, doubles down. And then Chris, the comedic genius that he is like, oh no, I totally get what this is.
I'm going to play along.
I'm going to play along, and we're going to go through this journey together and make it so much more better, like so much more better. Not real words, but it's okay.
Go with it.
Go with it. Just roll with it.
Pretend you're Chris Redd.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what you have to do. And it comes out way funnier. I didn't expect the end at all. I don't want to spoil it. We shouldn't spoil it.
No, but you're giving a hell of a tease right now.
Because we're days away from it being released on Crave TV.
Subscribe, people, if you want to see
Subscribe. Thankfully, if you already have an HBO subscription or TMN subscription,
you got it.
You get it already, which I was really happy about.
And if people don't, I think that you get your first month free. So buy it for your first month, watch our 8 episodes, watch some Letterkenny, and then
3 times,
shut it down if you don't want to pay the $10 a month.
I suggest that you watch it once a day. Or even if you're not watching it, put it on and walk out of the room.
Yeah, we'll take the streams.
Just let it play. This is the kind of stuff we need. I also want to bring up Pedestal Podcast, which I texted you about when it dropped. I was like, oh my goodness, this has been in my head. We've been trying to workshop something just like it. It's brilliant and genius. Like, the first season was 10 episodes.
That's right, yeah.
And you go through 10 that most, I believe, in our generation would put as all-time classics.
Yeah, something that sort of like the common consensus that these movies belong on a pedestal.
Of all varying genres. Like, you go from Jaws to Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, Blair Witch.
Coming
to America. We jump all over the place.
No, Airplane.
Airplane, yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
plane,
yeah.
trains, and automobiles. I'm like, no, that's my list. But that's okay.
That's a good one.
Season 2.
Yeah.
You can totally roll into it.
We start. So it's funny that you mentioned the pedestal because one, I actually, if you listen to the I had trouble saying the word pedestal. I kept saying pedestal.
What did you just say?
Yeah, what?
Pedestal?
I'm like pedestal.
No,
and I'm like,
pedestal.
oh god, I have a speech infliction here. So
The
anyway,
best part is that you're giving it a poop reference.
honestly,
which I think makes it so much better.
Appropriate for Dumb and Dumber, maybe not for Star Trek for The Voyage Home. But the pedestal, which I've had to practice a lot, was also another kind of thing where that was like really a Shane and John thing, and I kind of just was like, I want to do. It sounds fun, but again, it's like just throwing things on the plate. But I think with guys like us that do creative work and what you're doing with this podcast and what other people do is like, if it seems like fun, I want to do it. I'll find time for it. You know what I mean? So that was a great example of like, yeah, I can watch a movie once a week and then get together with you guys and talk about it for an hour. It ended up being really fun.
And I love that the fact that you guys explored releasing it all at once.
Yeah.
Which is definitely different than the Mike on Much model.
Well, the thing that we found with the Mike on Much podcast is we've done 100 episode 120 came out this week, and we found that so many people like jumped in at 80 or 91 or like 110. They're like, oh my god, you have Reggie Watts this week, and then they've gone back and people are like, oh, I just went back to episode 1. And if you go back to that like 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, like Shane Single, he as our pop culture aficionado, and I'm doing air quotes with that. Max and I were like, we just need to have him on. He'll review a movie or maybe a song or an album or something. And he's maybe done that in 120 episodes like 3 times. I know he did the Backstreet Boys documentary, but what he did was almost from the start, he just came on. We're like, so what are you watching? And he's like, well, I didn't really get around to watching anything, but I went on this Tinder date. And then he would just share the best stories, and we would just laugh our asses off. And he's pissed because his Tinder date brought him to Earl's, and then he was like, "Do I get the bill? This is like $100 bill for like 4 drinks. Like, what the fuck is Earl's charging for drinks?" So he was just so funny. And then you saw through the progression, he meets his wife, and then settles down. But people that go back are like, "Wait a second, this guy." They listen to those.
What?
Yeah, they
completely.
listen to those first 35 episodes, and it's just like it's a tornado in the best way.
It's been formally a Much Bell podcast from the beginning.
Yep, you got it.
But there's a whole ton of episodes that are recorded like at Max's place or at your place
Always.
or like just out of a regular quote-unquote studio environment.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun as well. And then you guys start giggling. You're like, oh, this happened right before we turned on the thing.
Yeah.
Or Adam Burchill is on in a handful of episodes. Who
Totally.
I was fortunate to work with for several years. It kind of adds to the atmosphere and environment of it all, and it gives it dimension. And that you add that on to already an established relationship between the three of you, and then you add on, wow, you just keep adding on. Then you add on like the interviews that you're able to get and the access, as you mentioned before, and then you add on Shane's bits. My question is, how do they not give you a TV show a year ago? This is stinking ridiculous.
Well, you just gotta, timing is everything. And ultimately it's like the timing was right for this and for Crave, for streaming. And Justin Stockman, who works, he's like the vice president of all of like pay television and everything. He's a guy that we call him the Podfather, because he was like, when I started in the industry, 4 hours a day as a unit assistant, fetching coffees, labeling tapes. He was just a producer, like a promo producer. And like, I think that's really the importance of building relationships in any sort of like creative industry like that, or I guess any industry, creative or not. It's like, he's a real sort of mentor to me, but as he rose through the ranks and, left the department that we worked in and sort of shot to the top, when Max and myself and Shane were creating this podcast initially a few years ago now, he's someone we went to and we're like, is this something that you guys would be interested in doing with us? And because he was sort of like somebody that I'd worked with and he sort of like shepherded me through, it was this great sort of connection. And then that leads to that. And then he becomes a guy that's directly sort of running Crave in a lot of ways. And it's like, it all works out. But honestly, it's timing and being lucky.
Again, we come back to timing, in which we've already indicated timing seemed to be crazy in
Well,
fall of this year.
this is the other thing.
Everything's timing. We didn't time it this year.
Well, this is the other thing is like, you can't be precious. It's
Right.
like, what am I going to be like? Oh, I've got a kid on the way. We can't do it until the new year.
Completely.
It's like, you just got to say yes and roll. And it's like, ask for forgiveness later. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I'm going to be running around shooting these 8 episodes. And luckily, Shane and I both have partners and like in our wives that are super understanding. They know how much it means to us. But yeah, like some people would get weird about it, or like, I can't make that happen at this time. Mm-hmm. Our philosophy has always been like, if it sounds cool, say yes and figure out the rest later.
I told you the story when we met up after the Raptors game, or during the Raptors game. Your brother Greg and I are friends.
Yeah.
And
That's how we met.
That's how we met. And he told me almost Well, not right. As soon as it was public, I think he told me, he's like, hey, Mike's having a kid. I'm going to be an uncle. This is so exciting.
Oh, cool.
And I was really happy, and I think I sent you a note and whatever. You kind of follow it as it goes along. But I was away catching up on podcasts, and when I heard the story of everything that went down the day your daughter was born.
Oh, yeah.
And you were good enough to share it on your podcast. But it's a powerful... Everything we deal in storytelling is about power and emotion and overcoming adversity. And I'm like, this could almost make a movie. What you went through. Do you mind going through an abbreviated version of how that day went down? Because with everything on your plate, this is just you kind of decided to take it to, not you decided, but life kind of took it to 12 in what is one of the most precious days of your life.
Yeah, it was crazy. And telling that story on our podcast was like, you know, because my wife is like, she's much more sort of private than, like, I have a podcast and I choose to sort of be public in some ways. She doesn't. So I asked her before, I'm like, hey, I'm going to tell this story because it was such sort of a, you know, harrowing experience for both of us. But essentially, like, we went like midwife, and not to get into the sort of the specifics of how your birth plan.
No,
but you
please
can do
tell me. I'm curious.
You can do an OB, you can do a family doctor, you can do, you know, or you do like a midwife. And so we've done a midwife all the way. But what that means is you can either give birth like in your home or in all sorts of alternative sort of ways to do it. But we chose to do it in a hospital. But really in the room when it all started to go down, when it was like go time, it was just two midwives, my wife and myself. And it just starts to happen. And basically what I talked about on the podcast is after our daughter was born,
my
kid.
She's mine.
Yeah, she's mine, all mine.
You can have her sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
When I go to work.
Yeah, you can hold her when I go to work. So yeah, when right after our daughter was born, we were sort of like elated and in these, like, you know, exactly as you think it would be and imagine it would be, these moments of ecstasy. But sort of what we didn't quite realize at first was that there was just a lot of bleeding. And I sort of became hyper aware of that within a few minutes. I was like, this is a lot. And I'm not like some like master at reading people, but I could just tell the vibe in the room was changing, like with the midwives.
More serious.
Exactly. But also Danica, my wife, was like kind of like, she hadn't caught on yet, and she was still just kind of holding the baby, and we're having these moments. But anyway, long story long, it got really, really, really sort of dicey for a minute, where then all of a sudden the OB on call had to come in, and a bunch of nurses rushed in, and basically there was like some hemorrhaging, and there was sort of like a stretch there of, like, you know, in real time it was probably like 10 minutes, but where it was like, she's losing blood, let's get her fluids, and she started to go pale. And anyway, the sort of most difficult thoughts go through your mind in those moments when you sort of like picture the multitude of outcomes, and the worst one sort of jumps in there, and you go, am I walking out here without a wife? And I essentially shared that story on my podcast, sort of from start to finish in the journey, and ultimately the fine people at St. Joe's here in Toronto, you know, they had their shit together, and she was good. So
having the fact that you had a kid is powerful. Like, anyone bringing life into this world, I think, is incredible.
All credit to my wife.
And magic.
Yeah.
But when you talked about going home, and you said that we didn't even really talk about it for a couple of days, and that was so real for me, because if anything happens, like if the smallest thing happens to me, I don't want to like run over and call my friend and be like, you wouldn't believe what happened. I crashed my car or whatever. Like, you don't want to talk about it.
Exactly.
It's freaky and it's real, and you have to let it fade a little bit. And that little point, I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, of course you wouldn't. I don't know what my point was with this. It's just I respect you a lot, and how that the fact that you told the story and how it all came out, and obviously more than happy that it ended for the better, but that just kind of gives you, like, it becomes like another slide of life experience that I imagine goes into your life, and being able to relate to people you meet or guests that you have.
Yeah, exactly. How's my life changing? What is my responsibility? What does my life look like now? Am I going to have time to do the things that I want to do? How can I be a responsible dad, but also sort of like chase these goals and dreams that I have? All of those things enter your mind. How can I be a great partner to my wife?
Yeah.
All of those things,
Supportive,
and be a good dad, and also a great partner to Shane and Max. Right. And, you know, and also, you know, like my day job, I've got an amazing creative director, and it's like I have a lot of things going on all the time that, like, I have this sort of immense fear of letting people down. I hate the thought of letting people down. And my wife's always like, you don't say no to things. Like, you don't. And she's like, there's power in no, and it's okay to say no sometimes. I'm like, but I don't know if it's just like, I don't want people to not like me.
I always wanted some more other. First of all, thank you for not saying no today.
No,
I
how
appreciate
could I?
it.
Yeah,
Holy
how could
smokes.
I? And you do a great podcast, man.
In the development process, like, you had run the podcast for a couple of years already when you knew you were developing it for TV.
Yeah.
Did they have suggestions as to how they wanted you to fine tune it or change it for television?
Yeah, well, this comes back to like the idea that our point of contact, or like our guy, the podfather, Justin Stockman, is somebody that like we respect his voice. He listens to every audio pod before they go out, mostly to be like, I want to make sure you and Shane don't get yourselves fired, et cetera, et cetera. And he's sort of like the last line of approval. So he was the guy that, at a lunch was like, what do you think about doing this? And yeah, he had suggestions, and he was like, I think that it can still live with the same format as the show. And then we kind of like went to the drawing board and like, how can we make this more visual? Because if it's just guys sitting around doing like the sort of thing where you see like, it's like a camera in the corner and it's like a TSN
static
radio.
cam. Yeah, completely.
It's like, we can't be that. We want it to be like a variety show or a talk show if we're going to do it. Shane, to his credit, was like, because Shane's power is in like his storytelling and his authenticity. And it's like, he will share stuff that other people would never share. I mean, hell, like after his wife gave birth, he drank breast milk on the air from her boob calling in. It was outrageous, but it was so sort of Shane just doing something out of left field.
And you guys didn't get shut down for that.
Somehow that made it through. I don't know. When he started doing it, because this is how he presented it. He called in because he was raising his kid in those first couple weeks, so he would call into the podcast, and he was like, "I'm going to try breast milk for the first time." We're like, "Okay, I get it. It makes sense.
Let us
Whatever."
know how it goes.
We think he's going to drink it out of a cup.
Yeah.
But then he's like, "Okay, are you guys ready?" We're like, "What?" And then we're just like, so we're listening. We get the headphones in, and he's calling in from Hamilton. He's like, we're going, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Let's try the other one." It was fucking nuts, but are we allowed to swear on this one?
100%.
And so anyway, how can you make he was thinking, how can I do something that's more visual for the show? And that's how we got to the digital desserts.
That's very visual.
Exactly. You need it. You can't listen to it.
Be that visual. We're good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, there's no breast milk drinking in the 8 episodes. I don't know if that's a deterrent or I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, but
some of the guest featured Sting, Alessia Cara.
Yeah. Lights, Leon Bridges, Jodie Whittaker, who is Doctor Who.
The new Doctor Who, which is extremely exciting.
Yeah, she's
First
great.
of all, there's been a female doctor.
I know.
Which is amazing
About
for
damn
the
time.
series. And she's badass.
She's great.
Like, she is so badass on the show.
I just watched the premiere before I talked to her, and I am a Doctor Who fan. I'm a David Tennant man as far as the Doctor that I prefer the most. But when I saw her premiere, I was like, wow, she's great. So I was like excited because you don't know, because if she wasn't, I got to go in there and act like she's great. You know what I mean?
Oh, I absolutely loved you.
And
you develop you really well.
I kind of have like a rule, like personally, that is I won't speak negatively about something. Like I try to always find something positive to say. So if I went into an interview with her and I didn't think she was good as the Doctor, I wouldn't be like, you're amazing as the Doctor. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
But I also won't say you're not good as the Doctor.
No.
I would just be like, it's amazing that you are the new Doctor Who.
Completely. Or you find
That's a true statement.
Or you just find the truth into something like
Exactly.
your wardrobe department's unbelievable. What's it
100%.
like working with them every single day?
You got it. But I won't be like, you are phenomenal. That being said, she's fucking phenomenal as the Doctor.
Yes.
She's great. So I'm saying it's nice though when you go into something like that and you're like, this is awesome.
I gotta say, the wardrobe department for Mike on Much is just fantastic.
Hey, that's Katie. Katie's the stylist, and she got an amazing rack cooking, and we just kept on. Because basically the rule was if you wear it on air, you get to keep it.
No way.
Yeah, so
Oh.
I picked like coats that I would wear. I'm actually wearing a denim coat from Top Man that they gave me for the show. Shane picked solely based on price tag. So in one of the episodes, he just would go through the rack and there was a sweater that was like I think $300, and he goes, "Yep," and he just he rips the tag off and throws it on. We talk about it on the show. Like he's like, "Yeah, this shirt's like $300."
That's what I'm gonna wear.
Max is like, "That one?" He's like, "Yep." We're like, wow.
What was really nice, one of your recent podcasts, the Reggie Watts podcast.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you, because we were out of the country on a job when that happened, and I couldn't. I think I was getting off the plane that day or something. It wasn't going to work, and I've been waiting. I'm like, this is recorded. I know it's recorded. They got to put it out at some point. So Mike on Much, the Reggie Watts episode. Everyone listened to it. You do it a little bit backwards because you come in. You come in with your regular intro, the three of you just, catching up and sitting around. Then you go to the interview. Then you go to the original.
There's a
intro.
story there. Basically, we recorded a proper podcast. I'm not going to get into the story, but basically, I will just say as a tease for the listeners.
There is a story there.
Well, I'm glad that you noticed that because so we do our regular open,
Yep.
then we throw to Reggie, and then we had a dessert.
Yes.
We recorded a dessert. It was problematic for certain reasons, so we had to kill that dessert,
Yes.
and we needed to get together to record another dessert. People are lost in the minutiae here. Why do you keep saying dessert?
Yeah. Am I getting something for tea?
Yeah, exactly.
This sounds delicious.
So
cherry cheesecake.
That was Shane being like, how about we address what happened in the live show? And then we ended up rolling the opening of the live show. So you kind of get two openings in a weird way, and then it's like, let's get to Reggie Watts at the end of the episode after you've heard. So it is a little bit of like a unique and odd episode in its construction, but it's because there was a dessert that couldn't go there.
What made that one special, I think, is first of all, friend and trusted producer Max Kerman. Admitting he thought he bombed a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Right, with that, he's reading tweets. He's kind of going through his history of tweets and who he spoke
It was
to.
so half-baked.
But I thought in it is something beautiful, is the fact that there's all these people that have connections from like 8 years or 6 years ago.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You liked the bit that he was reading these tweets from the past
100%,
decade,
because
yeah.
you're like, oh, and then this person works on WebED.
Yeah.
Right? Works on the show with you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, and this person whose best friend lives in my place, she also works on the show. And so I thought I'd address that for a second.
Yeah.
We talked about the Champagne Boys last time you were here.
Yeah.
And just this friend group that has kind of grown up and matured and went into adulthood together.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then you find a way in this new endeavor of the podcast, now a show, to bring in all these other people that have kind of been around you. You knew it. It was like 2009. You're sitting like wherever, and you're like, I know exactly what I'm going to do.
I wish I was that calculated. I'd probably be like, if I had that kind of foresight, who knows what I would have accomplished by now. Honestly, it's just like, I love hanging out with Max and Shane and all of those other people. And so when we started doing the pod, we always want to be authentic. So we just talk about things that are funny to us, and our friends are funny to us. And it's like, if Dan Carruthers, WebED, Webmaster Dan, is in the room, we're going to acknowledge that he's in the room. And this is what I love about Max, is Max is he's like, the Twitter bit didn't do what it was supposed to do at the live show, and he acknowledges it. But you listening to that, you pulled something out of that. So
100%.
it was a great idea, I thought. I just it was a classic Kerman. He thought of it at 11 the night before, having a couple beers.
I got the greatest idea.
Well, because
guys, I'm good.
He succeeds at everything, so why wouldn't that work? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't he roll in a little hungover and be like, gonna read some tweets, gang, you ready? The whole live show, at the Second City there, and me and Shade are just looking at each other as he's going through.
Are you ready for this? I didn't hear about this. You hear this?
Yeah,
I didn't hear about this.
totally.
Okay, let him go. We'll see.
But it's ultimately fine, and just because our last show... I'm not gonna say we have some impossible standard to meet, but we do have a high standard of what we planned. And
Yeah.
Shane had actually painstakingly planned out a bit, and Max is like, "Don't worry, I got this opening. You don't got to do anything." And then it's like we're like, "Okay, the opening's 15 minutes." He's like, "I got it." He raps in 4 minutes. Now we got to tap dance for the next 10 fucking minutes. But it's great, and I love it. And that's that I love that Max takes those chances, and he's endearingly always going to go for things like that. And Shane is always going to have he's going to over prepare and be neurotic about those things, and
he felt like he was off the hook.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like, oh,
a relief.
He's got it. Oh no, I'm fine. I don't have to do anything. And then you end up having to perform that bit you kind of thought you were off the hook.
And I thought
for.
it was great too, because he told the story about us doing improv.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's good times, but that was.
He killed it and you didn't. The improv story is great. I'm sorry.
Oh, totally.
All I want to do here is
I know. I feel like for your listeners, we're just reference. It's like talking about a movie no one's seen. It's and then that part, when that part happened, it's like
they're gonna love the next part. Then
okay,
I'm on season 7 right now of TNG. So last time you're in, first of all, we got death stares and blank looks from your brother and Shane.
Yeah, I know.
Because it wasn't really their thing. I think I was on season 5 at the time of TNG.
Yep.
I then finished through season 7. I then went all through Voyager, and then I went all through TNG again, and I'm now on 7 because I have a life outside of work. Apparently not. There's a Twitter handle called, I think it's called Picard advice, Picard
management tips.
Picard management tips.
I follow
that
it.
I just found the other
It's
day.
great.
And I'm going through and I'm like, this is hilarious because you do this funny thing in your head where you just listen, you hear his voice every time you read
Yeah.
it. So I do this really weird thing while I'm watching. I'm like, yes, next time we have a board meeting, or like a team meeting, I totally want to handle it the way they just did in the observation line. Like, do you ever do these really weird things where you're like, I think I can learn something from him?
All the time. I think Picard's fantastic. Like, the thing I love about Star Trek Next Generation and Jean-Luc Picard in particular is that the show is all about, like, it's about nonviolent conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're presented with a problem that they need to solve, and instead of like Star Wars or, you know, they don't blow things up. Picard usually has to find like a diplomatic way that he can get out of whatever sort of conflict he has, like, so that the other party feels good, so that the Enterprise gets what's best. And the way that he manages things, I'm just like, he's a savvy operator. I'm like, I love it. Like, he thinks things through. He also has principles. You know, he's also got authority, but he can also sort of like have empathy and all those things. There's actually a really funny clip on that Picard management tips where they're like, this is how senior management works. And there's a Borg and it like shows up and it's messing with the computer. And so it's Picard, Worf, and then like a security officer. And so the Borg turns toward Picard and like the Borg's like menacing, like he might do something. And Picard goes, Mr. Worf. And then Worf goes, Ensign. And then Ensign runs towards the Borg and then gets slammed. And they're like, this is exactly how senior management works. And the poor Ensign is the one that gets slaughtered by the Borg.
Senior director.
Yeah.
Coordinator.
They just keep going down the
That's
line. Like, Worf, he said for you to deal with it, and Worf sent the most junior guy to get annihilated.
Have you seen Wharf of Starfleet?
No.
It's a oh my goodness, I'll send it to you.
It's like a mashup type thing.
Look it up. I suggest anyone, well, I will post it on Instagram or on Twitter. It's amazing. It is basically the Wolf of Wall Street trailer cut to Worf clips from TNG. It's unbelievable. It made me so happy. It made its rounds when we were doing the shows at MLSE, and we'd all die. It'd be like 2 a.m, and you're editing out of your mind, and you're just crying. You're like, finally, some relief.
Well, because we're in the holidays, Make It So will be making the rounds to Let It Snow.
Yeah.
You know, they've done like the Picard mashup where he's like,
Make it so, make it so, make it so.
Shut up, Wesley. That always makes the holiday rounds. There's also a really good honest trailer for Star Trek that slays me. Have you ever seen that one?
I haven't. I was
my God. We'll watch it after this.
The boys did a holiday party on Saturday, and I had never heard of honest trailers before that.
What?
I know Cinema Sins, but I don't know honest trailers.
Yeah.
And so
They do
that
a good
was
job.
Yes, they do a very good job. And as the night got later and drinks got stiffer, we laughed more and more and more.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm like 2 days into my discovery of honest trailers.
Well, you're in for a treat, my friend.
What was the editing process like for you guys? Because I remember we were exchanging notes back and forth, and you had said it was late night. Shane's talking about like he's midnight, 1 a.m. He's getting out of work. He's back, early in the morning.
So Shane's stuff is so intense because I think a lot of the comedy is found in the edit. So the stuff that Shane's editing it really is sort of like an art form, and you want to play with it because it's like an edit that might look great the first time you cut it. You give it 24 hours and you go, oh, I'm going to change that and that, or you show a couple people. So that ends up being a really taxing process that he definitely had to go through. I was cutting the studio stuff, and the truth is, I also want to say, not that I think anyone will, is sort of tracking my words on this, but there were like editors that would do like sort of like assembly edits or line edits, or like other parts of the show where they were sort of more intense and give edits, and then they would send us the cuts.
Right.
And then because we are like editors by trade, we would go into the system and we would sort of adjust things how we just like little things like we like our pacing to move a little bit faster, say,
right.
But they go, we want to go a little slower. We're like, we need to punch in. If Shane makes a joke here, or Max says something really funny here, or I'm laughing, like we need to go to the tights on those little choices like that. We're very finicky about.
You
we're
held
very,
it close to the chest.
We did.
That's
we
what
were
they say in the biz.
It's our baby, So it's like, even though I'm sure we were annoying as hell to some of the editors, and they were great, by the way. Christine and Jesse were two of the editors at Bell Media that did amazing work on the thing.
Whoop.
Like I cut my own interviews, and then it would go back, like, because it is ours, and we might only ever get 8. So it's like, and one day in a decade from now, when I look back on it, I want to be like, if I don't like a choice, I can be like, I made that choice at least.
I sometimes admire those who were never editors by trade.
Yeah.
Because they can just have that relationship.
Just walk away.
And walk away from it. But if you can do it, and if you see something that's just more to your style, if nothing else,
Totally.
and the creation of your own thing, a podcast for a couple years, all these interviews, every joke, or what, all these things, it's an expression of yourself, and it always has been. And so you kind of want to have that. If you're going to put it out in the world, you want it to be at least a good reflection of how you see it.
We also think that like little tiny decisions add up to big stuff. So like, for instance, like there might be in the first 2 minutes, something might be said and it's like, oh, it's like that literally just needs to be like a second more on Shane laughing at this comment that Max made. And it's like, in a vacuum, you go, really? Like, is anyone going to, like, it doesn't really matter.
And you say a second, the truth is it's really like 7 frames.
Exactly.
We always say a second so it sounds better than it is.
Sure.
But it's just holding it just a touch, just to land.
And it's the thing is, it's like, if you do that for every minute of a 12-minute open, by the end of the 12 minutes, hopefully it adds up to like this, wow, that felt great.
Yeah.
And you might not even know why it felt great. And by the way, like, also, like, I concede that maybe we're crazy. And like, I'm like, maybe it doesn't matter. And it'd be totally fine the way that it was. You know, I don't know. All I know is that like, you can, as an editor, you know, you can just, you can see all those little tiny choices. And by the way, I will say this too, like those editors, Christine and Jesse, they really started to figure out us after those first few, like, cause it was like, we get the sequences, send them back and they're like, oh, we get what they're doing here, what they're going for here. And they don't necessarily, you know, you want to go to the wides, but it's like, and if we're all three of us are laughing uproariously, go to the wide, but then go to a tight. Like I want to see the joy on Max's face, you know? Anyway.
Did you learn a lot about your own brand of comedy? Well, watch, like you listened to yourself, no doubt, through the podcast.
Yeah.
But did you learn much about your own brand of comedy and things you do well and things that you're going to continue to work on?
The good thing is that because we've done like 120 episodes of the podcast, we know how, the three of us know how to talk to each other, and we know how to like listen, and we know how to like let the other guy get his joke off, or if we're sort of going somewhere a little more serious, people know, like the three of us can shift and move with each other, kind of like anything, like a band, or like you know, people that have done it enough together, so that when we were doing the show, it's like, okay, like Shane's leading toward a punchline here, or Max is going somewhere here, or Max is telling a story, but he's been going a little long. Shane's going to hit him with something here. Like there's a joke in one of the episodes where Max tells a story about going to see Rooney when he was younger, and he had paper towels in his ears, and then so he thought that one of them fell out, and then he went home, and something was wrong with his ear, and he finally goes to the ear doctor, and the doctor's like, yeah, you still have a piece of paper towel in your ear. But he took like 4 minutes to tell the story, and then Shane goes, there's the sixth sense, and then there's the end of that story. He's like, of course we knew it was going to be the paper towel in your ear. But like something like that was so funny. But also Max's story was good. Like it had all the ebbs and flows, and it was just like, but it's like you can feel something like that happening, and there's so many moments like that in the 8 episodes. So it's like, it's not like we go in being like, okay, this is going to be the joke, this is going to be the setup. It can't be that structured, because then it won't feel real. It'll feel like bullshit. So it's like, we don't know what the three of us are going to say, but we know each other enough just from like drinking in pubs and making each other laugh, that hopefully that comes across in the show. Like people seem to say it does in the podcast. It's just the camaraderie and the friendship and the laughs.
Do you find a weird balance between obviously preparation and then just letting things roll?
Yep. It's difficult because you think two things. You think like, so for instance, like when I'm interviewing Noel Gallagher, like I prep like crazy. And then when I'm like, okay, well, we're doing a TV show, and we actually had to find the right balance, because for those first few episodes, I'm like, we're not prepping enough. Like we need to have some production meetings, you know? And then, so then we're trying to kind of like do these pre-planned stories, but then we found that they didn't work. And then it's like, no. We got to like readjust here and just let it run like the pod. Like meaning like, let's pick a topic, say something like, you know, people you looked like, people that say you look like somebody. So Max just kind of threw that out. You start rolling with it, and then now you're just making jokes, you know, like now you're just literally like cutting to things and all of that. And then it's like, oh, I know what we're in now. Yeah. Whereas like if we prepped for it, you're almost waiting to try and get a joke off. It's kind of like that improv story Shane told. Like if you go into it like waiting to try and score your laughs, the opportunity is never going to come, or you're going to look like you're forcing it. It's like, here's my joke.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There you go. Because I'm waiting for my moment.
Exactly. Instead of
to say it.
Exactly.
Instead of just experiencing it as it goes.
Which is what you would never do, like in a bar if you're having pints. Like you would actually just talk.
Depends who
and
you
be
are.
natural. Exactly, 100%. But
I sit there all night. No, I don't.
Just waiting to get your
for my
joke off?
end. I'm like, and then that's the time he thought they were up one and didn't throw it in the no, J.R. Smith, like whatever. And everyone's like, Clay, we were talking about that like 43 minutes ago. I'm like, you just totally took a breath though.
Yeah.
This was my moment.
But J.R. Smith, okay.
But J.R. Smith, but that was funny, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then you saw LeBron, he was like, LeBron, he was all,
Totally.
I waited the whole night for that.
So, yeah. That's the 100. That's the benefit of doing 100 together.
I rhymed through it at the beginning, between the live show in January and then JFL and the show and then the other pod and then having kids because, life wasn't enough. You're right at the finish line now, right before the holidays.
Yeah.
Is it a bit of a power down for you all? Do you have any more press related to this?
Yeah, I'm doing one more thing. I'm actually wearing TV makeup right now. I don't normally roll like this. But although
You're
people
always
keep
that
saying
handsome.
today, like, you're glowing.
Yeah.
They're like, Dad life's been so good to you. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, no, I've got TV makeup on. Maybe I should always have a makeup person set me up
And
like
I
this.
just didn't take it off.
No. Well, that's it. Well, there's the thing. If I get the wipes and wipe it down, then I'll be like all blotchy and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I just got to keep it on. And also, I'm kind of like, I kind of want to go to the bar now. I look great. But I got to go home to my wife and kid. Yeah, I got a little bit more talking about the show, which is great because we want people to watch it and subscribe to Crave, and we hope that they like it, and we hope we get to do another 8. We hope we get to do another 1,000 because we love doing it. So we are winding down in the sense that it's like we can't do anything more to the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's closed captioned, it's cut, it's locked, it's mixed. It's gone to the Crave people, and then it will just show up at midnight on this Thursday. And so there's not much more to do. But now we're like, what if people review it and they're like, nobody wants to watch people talk for 20 minutes, or 45 minutes in 2018, or, you don't know if they're going to be negative about it or positive about it. So there's a little bit of that. But the reason that I don't lose sleep over that is because the three of us are super proud of what we've done.
Yep.
We stand by it. And at the end of the day, it's like we did our best and we think we're proud of it. And so we hope people dig it and enjoy hanging out with us. And that's all you can really do at this point. But yeah, like the bulk of it's behind us. So at this point, it's like, what are you going to do? It's like, crack a beer and chill. Exactly.
I had a mentor once tell me it was for writing, but he said every time you're finished, you're putting a message in a bottle and you're throwing it to sea.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't do anything with it now.
Once it's gone, yeah.
Just let it go, and people will love it or people will hate it. But it's all based on something you've already done. What are you doing next? And I don't want to put that pressure on you, what you're doing next. But as you go through the press for it all, is it weird being on the other side? Because I imagine some of the interviews that you've had have, like, the person's kind of been in junket mode promoting their thing or whatever. And now you're like, I'm in junket mode. This is odd. I want to ask you questions.
I've been saying that, like, there was that clip that came out. I don't know if you guys saw it, but basically when Lady Gaga was promoting A Star is Born, she, I guess, like in every country, every territory, every interview would tell this anecdote where she's like, 1 million people can tell you that you're not right for a part, but it only takes one. And this beautiful soul, and she points to Bradley Cooper, he does all the junkets with her, right? He goes, it only takes one, and this beautiful man said that to me. But they did a supercut of her telling the story like 30 times. And so I remember when I saw that a couple weeks ago, I know people do that. There was like a Vin Diesel clip years ago when he worked with Sidney Lumet that someone did that. And I know that that's people do at junkets. But I remember giggling at the Lady Gaga clip because I'm just like, ooh, I'm like, she's performed, like she does it pitch perfect every time. So it's so performative. And then I found when I was doing like this press last week and we were talking to like something like 12 outlets or something like that, I ended up saying when they're like, so Max is a producer. What's he like? I would tell the exact same anecdote. And I went, oh my God, I've become Lady Gaga. But it works. It's like, it's effective and you get it down tight. And it's just like, it's what I said at the social. And the ladies are like, ha, 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 ha. And I'm like, well, I'll just do that everywhere
I'll
then.
do it on eTalk.
Exactly. 100%.
You can appreciate why comedians don't want people having their phones in the audience. Because they're like, no. This is, if I get this right, I need to run on this for a year to pay my bills.
Yeah.
Like go easy on me. Be nice to me.
Totally.
So December 21st, or no, December 21st, 31st. I'm jumping the gun.
Watch
already.
it whenever you want.
December 21st, then 22nd, then 23rd.
Just let
then,
it run.
Hey, Christmas Eve, why not?
We need those streams for season 2.
Are they?
I have kids, man.
8. You said 45. Are they 45-minute episodes?
They vary. So I think like the shortest one is like 38. Maybe the longest one's probably like 45.
Was that neat to work within the ability to kind of cut to the comedy, cut to the length?
Yeah, our rule was always like, even if we do, say our opening, right, where the three of us are on the set in the studio, say we do 35 minutes or 40 minutes straight of just us like riffing. We're like, fucking kill your babies, man. Get it down to the tightest 12 minutes. Because it's like, you know, we're asking a lot of people to spend 45 minutes with us and watch our TV show. So it's like, we don't want to give them the bloat. It's like, just get down to the best 12. And that means being a little bit ruthless, because it means that like, oh man, I had the best joke at that minute, but we need a full 5-minute story for us to score those 3 laughs. So it's like, do we sacrifice the 3 laughs because the 5 minutes isn't as good as those 3 laughs are worth? You're constantly doing this fucked up math, you know? And then you're like, yeah, this 12 is the tightest and the most cohesive, because then all of a sudden we're like talking about the wedding we went to like the week before, which is great, but it takes so long to get, you know what I mean?
It. Yep.
So you make
then
those,
you have to lose it, or you lose part of the story.
You got it, 100%. And then it's like, yeah, it's like, why are they talking about a wedding now? It's like, well, that didn't connect to that because we had to drop this part of the story. So in that sense, it's like, it's been a learning curve. And I will say that as the 8 went on, we got so much tighter at being like, we're going to get to here. We're going to get to here. And then it was like, we got it. Whereas we were kind of searching in the first 3 or 4, you know? And I don't think they rolled them out in the way that I know Stig and Shaggy, we definitely did first. That was episode 1. And that will be episode 1 on Crave. But then I think they jumped like Jared Kiso up to episode 2, and he was back end. He was like 6, I think, maybe.
Interesting.
So like I mean, this is kind of insider, but like, so you'll be like, oh, exclusive. Like, yeah, they're super comfortable there. And then all of a sudden you'll be like, it's like, oh, that Leon Bridges episode seems a little weird. It's like, well, it was the second episode, you know? Not that the Leon Bridges episode's weird. It was great.
It's good for you guys, I guess, in a way, because you get someone who's kind of impartial to the project, right? To choose the ordering. We
did a lot of peeling back of the onion in the raw recordings too, like meaning like this is episode number 2. We would reference a lot, and that all got pulled because they wanted they pulled it because they were like we don't know what order they're going to do it in. So like when we shot the finale, we were like, this is the finale. Well, what was my joke? Oh, after we were done shooting the principal photography for the series, everybody was like, so like, what do you think? I was like, oh, it was exciting to shoot my first ever series finale. Like, meaning we won't get a season 2. People enjoyed that joke. Anyway, so we were like, it was a learning curve. And yeah, I mean, the one thing that Max has kind of said constantly is throughout this whole process is like he loves like PTI and like Kornheiser and those guys, and he was listening to a Conan O'Brien podcast, and he was saying that like anyone that ever does a show, especially a show like this where it's like kind of a talk show mixed with a variety show, you know, Shane's doing comedy, I'm trying to do these in-depth sort of like sit down long form interviews. He's like,
Max is smiling.
Max is great, and honestly, he was a great producer. And we always joke, but it's like he brought a lot, and he was on tour while Shane and I were sort of getting in there with the editors and everybody.
Too, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he would send notes. He would look at all the raw cuts, and then he would be like, "Drop my story here." He's like, "I don't, tighten there." Whereas like some people would be like, I want to talk more here. You know what I mean? It's like, he'd be like, no, I don't think I'm getting there quick enough. And so we always had good notes. And yeah, we were just like really, I don't know where I was going with this. Something about Max.
Great.
And yeah, I was going somewhere
Max
with it.
Max is great. You know, Shane, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Mike, handsome as ever.
Making a talk show. Conan O'Brien. Thank you for triggering that. Mike is as handsome as ever. Right. Now my brain's back on track.
I'm as funny as all of those.
Yeah, no, I'm not funny. Shane's the funny one on our show. I'm just there to play point guard and pass the ball around. But Max's main point was that Conan was like, we didn't even get good until like our 100th episode or something like that. It took us 2 seasons. We've only done 8. God, we can't wait to do another 8 or something else that's creative. If it's not this, on to the next thing. As long as it's fun and fulfilling. And at any rate, I'm just like happy that I got 8 of these. Like I got a TV show, like 8 episodes. It's awesome. It's amazing with huge guests. You know, so.
Are you going to get like a hard copy, do you think, for yourself? Because we're of the age where hard copies mean
like a DVD?
Exactly.
Yeah. No one's mentioned that. I don't know if that's in the budget.
You could just do it.
Well, maybe if Shane didn't grab that $300 shirt off the rack, they would have given us some fucking DVDs, but we blew the wardrobe budget.
If there's anything I've learned about the Champagne Boys, you guys work hard, but you also party hard. I understand on the weekend, you guys had your animal. Well,
it was that too.
It was your
animalistic
crawl.
Annual pub crawl. Yeah.
Annual pub crawl.
The 12 pubs of Christmas.
Holy smokes.
We actually did 13 this year too.
Through the beautiful streets of Hamilton.
You got it.
How'd it go this year?
It was a trip, man. I don't know if it's because a bunch of dudes have kids. One of our friends has a kid on the way, but guys were like, all their eggs were in that basket on Saturday night. Like everyone was like, "This is our night," and it was a good time. If people follow along on social media, like we were going into pubs, they'd have like, like there'd be a bar band setting up, but it was still kind of early because we started at 6, and so like
your dad's when.
Oh my God.
We started at 6. We were done by 10:15.
This was, I wish that was the case for us. We still went till like 1:30, but we were just legless. But like you go into bars and there'd be like a couple with their, they got like a keyboard up there, and then Max would just wander on stage, and then he's doing the song from A Star Is Born. There was like a bar band, and then Max is just like, "Oh, is that a guitar?" And it's like, in Hamilton, Max is a golden boy, Arkells. So like here.
Is that a guitar?
Yeah. That old thing?
I've never seen one of these before.
But then we're jamming.
Can I try it?
Yeah. And then we're jamming, and it was just fun, but we were already like, it is the funnest thing that we do for the holidays in I think 4 years now. The last bar that we hit to is this bar called 5 Star in Hamilton, and it's like it's a lot of interesting characters. It is a bar that I guess I use the word dive. Like beers are like $3 or $4. So the dudes that hang in there are like older, gruffer, sort of like salt to the earth Hamiltonians, and since we've been doing this now, this is our 5th year doing it. They now anticipate us at some point between like December 10th and December 24th.
Rolling in.
And the minute we walk in, they all rip their shirts off because we take our shirts off. And I know this is an audio thing right now, but because you guys are in the room, I'm just going to show you a photo right now. This would sum up what happens at 5 Star. Like some of these guys aren't even in our crew. They just get so excited every year the minute we walk in.
Jesus, that's a lot of skin. That's beautiful.
That was from 2016. I don't even know if any of these men are with us anymore. I don't know how well they live. They take care of themselves, but luckily the Champagne Boys are all still here.
They look like they're living life real well.
Yeah.
Real well. Adam Burchill, I saw, decided to do a rendition of... it
was a Rage Against the Machine song. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know what's brutal about that is I got so much funny footage. Shane was doing footage. Everybody was filming stuff for like the Mike How Much Instagram. Yeah. I somehow missed the nut performing that damn song. I wanted to put it on our Instagram. I only saw it the next day.
Someone's.
Oh no, it made it on our buddy Felix's, I think, and maybe even Birch'll put it up. But somehow I didn't get it because I was at the back of the bar. Like we were like,
busy.
There was 26 of us, right? So we're back there getting. Well, the thing is, it's like a snowball too. It starts with like 12, but then you start building guys as they go. And so when it was a cover band playing in that bar, the bar's called Absinthe. And then I guess when they were doing that Rage song and Birchall's up there stomping around and screaming, I didn't know until after it was like done because I'm like, doing my drinks or whatever. And I was like, that was Birchall. And then when I saw it the next day, I was like, this is hilarious. But he killed it.
I think everyone should aspire to be part of the pub crawl, the Champagne Boys
drink
pub crawl.
Drink responsibly, kids.
100%.
Yeah.
And play good music.
Yeah, exactly.
So somewhere between the 10th of December to the 24th, make sure you're just wandering the streets of Hamilton.
It'll be a Saturday.
You'll be able to find them out on a Saturday night. December 21st, I won't get it wrong that time. Crave TV. Sign up, subscribe, watch. You can just do it at midnight. You might as well. You get it out of the way before the holidays, and then allows you to reflect on it, share it with your family over the holidays.
Yeah.
No one likes a gift better than the gift of good television. Share a subscription with your friends. Watch it again.
Yeah, share passwords.
Yeah,
we don't care how you get it.
No, don't. Well, I guess you can actually, but for the sake of Crave, definitely subscribe. Maybe give your dog a subscription for the holidays as well. As we like to wrap things up, or as we start wrapping things up, for myself, from Mike Veerman, Mike on Much. Holy shit, I can't wait to see the show when it comes out. From Dylan, who's operating the levels, from Luca, who does the edit, and Sean and Charlotte, who obviously help produce. Everyone, please, please, please be good to yourself. Say it, Mike. Say it.
And unlike the patrons of 5 Star, who clearly don't eat their vegetables, please do eat your vegetables.
And drink smart over the holidays. Thanks, brother.
Now you have to keep in the 5 Star story or else that doesn't make any sense.